What's up, guys? Welcome to the second installment of the 2026 team previews. Today we are focusing on the Chicago White Sox, as I've made quite clear over the course of the last couple weeks on YouTube and TikTok. One of my favorite teams of the offseason. And I've gone into lengths about how I feel about their offseason, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper today. But first, I want to give a shout out to W Energy, who is sponsoring this video. I will put the link down in the description. Go to W Energy, get 10% off using the code BATBOY. I am awaiting my first shipment, so I don't have product to display as of yet, but it should be here. I would say, honestly, by the time this airs, I'll probably have it, but I'm not sure. It just shipped, so it might be a few days. This is coming out pretty soon, so we'll have it soon. However, I've done a lot of research on the product, and very good for you energy drinks. They also got some cool swag. I got a hat and a tumbler coming. Go check them out. Link is in the description. 10% off. Promo code BATBOY. All right, let's get into the episode. Chicago White Sox, 2025. They went 60 and 102, finished 5th in the AL Central. Wasn't a good season. A lot of injuries. Luis Robert gets traded in the offseason, which I actually think was a good deal. But he was arguably their best player when they traded him away. I think they are not going to finish 5th. Hot take, they're not going to finish 5th in the division this year. Where are they going to finish? I can see them as high as 3rd. I can see them as low as 4th. I'm confident that they're not going to finish 5th. They are loading up the offense, and they are making some moves in the rotation that we'll get into that I have been clamoring for them to make since they made some offseason, offensive offseason moves. They signed a pitcher actually this afternoon, so I'm glad that I waited until today to record this because I would have been irritated had this not happened prior to this episode. Let's get into some of the transactions this offseason. They've added first baseman, third baseman Munetaka Murakami from Japan for 2 years, $34 million. Seranthony Dominguez is going to be their closer. Anthony Kay, starting pitcher. Probably my favorite ad of the offseason, Luis Angel Acuna. I think he is going to be a star. I think he's going to be right there with his brother, Ronald Acuna Jr. I think he's going to be so good. They also signed Sean Newcomb, who is now likely to go into the bullpen, as well as today, they signed starting pitcher Eric Fetty. Might not be flashy. He had some good numbers with the White Sox in 2024. We'll get into that later. But I like the move because they need starting pitching. They lost Luis Robert Jr., like I mentioned earlier, traded to the Mets. They also lost relievers Tyler Alexander and Miguel Castro, as well as Michael A. Taylor. I think the ads heavily outweigh the losses, and I think this is going to be a pretty competitive team. I think this is going to be a scrappy team. I think the starting rotation is going to hold the keys to the success of the White Sox in 2026. Spring training. What I'm going to be looking for is the youth. How are they going to adapt to Major League Baseball? How are they going to perform under the bright lights? The average age of the projected starting lineup, 25.4 years old. And that's including 32-year-old Andrew Benintendi in left field. It's 24.6 without him. That is a young team. However, it's a very, very good team. Good group of young players. So I think it's going to be a very good team, especially moving forward. Maybe we might not see it necessarily this year. We might see it in 27. We might see it in 28. But I think this team is going to be good in the very near future. I think they are on the right path. They're a couple starting pitchers away from being very, very good. The projected lineup that I mentioned includes 5 players that they traded for: Chase Mydroth, Kyle Teal, Miguel Vargas, Luis Angel Acuna, and Ed Caro, 2 draftees, and Colson Montgomery and Brooks Baldwin, and 2 free agents in Benintendi and Murakami. So outside of Murakami, this offseason, which give them credit for grabbing him, this is a lot of, let's go get this guy from here. Let's trade away Garrett Crochet, bring in Kyle Teal. Let's trade away Luis Robert Jr., get Luis Angel Acuna. They've made some good moves here. I don't think we're going to see a huge uptick in wins. I'm not going to see them go from 60 wins to 80 wins, but I can see them going from 60 to 70. and climbing up to fighting for third in that division behind the Royals and the Tigers. Are we going to see Noah Schultz debut? It's a pitcher, left-handed pitcher that I'm really looking forward to. He's getting a lot of Randy Johnson comparisons. 6'10", just a monster presence on the mound. Dominated every level, single A, high A, double A, and then he really struggled in triple A. So he looked like he was on the fast track to the big leagues, and then triple A kind of tripped him up a bit. Overall, he's made 50 minor league starts across the 4 levels, and that he's competed to a 3.06 ERA with 229 strikeouts in 188 innings. Strikeout machine. He's currently the number 49 overall prospect for 2026, and he just 6'10" pitch. Randy Johnson is the only comp you can even give him, and if that's your comp, there ain't nothing wrong with that. I think coming from a 3/4 arm slot, similar to Johnson, almost looks sidearm, a 6'10" stride towards home plate. They're going to be releasing the ball 3 feet closer to the plate than the next average 6'1" pitcher that's not taking the stride that he's taken, doesn't have the wingspan that he has. I think it's going to be exciting when it happens. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. It might happen next year, but he's definitely going to get some run in spring training, so I'm going to tune into those starts. As I mentioned previously, the rotation is going to hold, I think, the keys to success for this team. Rotation isn't great. Bullpen, I think, is going to be solid, thanks to the Dominguez signing. Rotation isn't great. Shane Smith, Davis Martin, Sean Burke, Anthony Cage, Jonathan Cannon, Sean Newcomb, and now Eric Fetty. Jordan Hicks was added to the mix. I think Newcomb and Hicks are going to go into the bullpen. I think Fetty's going to enter the rotation, and I think Jonathan Cannon's going to probably be your swing man. That's my guess. But Eric Fetty's going to be an X factor. 2023, he had kind of a funky start to his career with the Nationals. He wasn't horrible. He wasn't great. Ended up signing a deal with the KBO and ended up winning the MVP as well in 2023. Came back to Major League Baseball for 2024 with the White Sox and pitched really well. 121 innings, 3.11 ERA, 1.32 ERA plus, 21.5%. Strikeout rate. Was traded to the Cardinals at the deadline. And then come around 2025, not so hot. Bounced around. Started with the Cardinals, moved to Atlanta, moved to Milwaukee. At some point, you need a little bit of stability. Ended up with a 5.49 ERA, 75 ERA plus. Wasn't good. But we'll see. If he can get some stability back, he obviously liked pitching for the White Sox. He pitched well for the White Sox. If he can find a level of comfort and get back to that 2024 Eric Fetty, then that's a game changer for this team. Position battles. The infield, and I don't know exactly which position it's going to be. The infield is going to be, there's too many people, which isn't a bad thing. Obviously, somebody might get hurt. You can play the hot hand. You can play the splits. You can platoon somebody. There's ways to get around this, but as of right now, looking on paper, there are too many players for the positions that are there. And it seems like Lennon Sosa might be the odd one out. After the season hitting 22 bombs last year, it's going to be interesting to see if he's the guy that gets left out. But it is loaded. Chase Mydras, Colson Montgomery, Miguel Vargas, Murakami, Brooks Baldwin, Lennon Sosa are vying for 4 spots, essentially. You got 3 righties, you got 2 lefties, you got a switch hitter. You can mix and match. You can ride the hot hand. Injuries might force your hand. We don't know. I pulled up some numbers for Mydras. He's betting 242 with an OPS of 630 against righties, 279, 691 against lefties. Hits lefties hard. Miguel Vargas is equal. Lennon Sosa hits lefties really hard. 235, 637 against against righties. Against lefties, 274, 732. That's a big jump. Montgomery's very similar. Brooks Baldwin is much better against righties. He's the lone switch hitter. Against righty, he splits 240, 689. Against lefties, 200, 551. So I can see Baldwin playing against righties. I can see Lennon Sosa playing against lefties. Like I said, injuries could force a hand. Spring training performance could force a hand. We'll see. So that's a group. Like I said, it's not really a position. It's just the infield as a whole has too many people. I would have liked to have seen one of them get traded for a starting pitcher. That didn't happen. My thought was Lennon Sosa was going to be the odd man out. They might trade him to try to go get a starting pitcher. Didn't happen. They signed Fedde. It looks like they're rolling with this team unless something crazy happens as spring training starts, as pitchers and catchers are reporting in a couple days. Some of them are already down there in their various locations. But that's what I'm going to be tracking in spring training, is that infield. Because it's not like it's 6 poor players and you got to find the 4 that aren't the weakest. These are 6 good players that would get spots elsewhere, all vying for 4 spots. Player focus time. It's got to be Munetaka Murakami, right? We don't know. He's the big question mark. He was very sought after coming out of Japan. I was very surprised to see he went to the White Sox. Deep down as a Yankee fan, I was hoping he was going to be a Yankee. He could slot in at third base perfectly. But ultimately, he goes to the White Sox, which is good. It's nice to see these small market teams make a splash signing of one of these Japanese superstars. So it's really good for Major League Baseball. It's really good for the White Sox. And it's good for Murakami, too. 26-year-old. He's a superstar over there. Left-handed power bat. He's played 8 seasons in the MPB, slashing 270, 394, 557 with a 945 OPS. On average, over the course of those 8 seasons, 111 games, 31 home runs, 81 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, 122 strikeouts. He's your prototypical power corner infielder. Very bad defensively over there at third base. So I don't know how that's going to work over here. Maybe he'll be the DH, and you can see that opens a slot for another 4 of those guys to only be playing for 5 spots. Or other way around. 5 guys only playing for 4 spots rather than 6 guys playing for 4 spots. But you might need to get that guy in the field. I'm not sure how that's going to work. We did see him in the World Baseball Classic in 2023. He was not great. 7 games, he batted .231 with 1 home run, 6 RBIs, and 12 strikeouts. He did have a .364 on base. He did walk a bunch, but there was a lot of swing and missing. And that was a classic where Ohtani showed out, where Okamoto showed out, and Murakami just didn't. But that was also as he was entering his superstardom. He was good before that, but I would say 23, 24, 25 is really when he entered into stardom in Japan. So that was at the very beginning of that. It's always interesting to see how these guys translate to Major League Baseball. Some of them work, some of them don't. And you got to take that risk because they're so dominant over there. And we see a lot of them that can translate, that can make the jump from Japan to the United States and do it well. Shohei Ohtani, obviously he can do it. Hideki Matsui did it very well. Pitchers, we saw Yu Darvish had a good career. He's had some injury problems, but ultimately he had a good career. Masahiro Tanaka had a good career. Then you also see the guys like Daisuke Matsuzaka, who was so hyped, so sought after, pretty much laid the foundation for this whole process, and he was awful in Major League Baseball. Kiigawa, pitcher for the Yankees, was so bad. He wasn't as hyped as some of these other guys, but just, again, it was just not good. So it can go both ways. We don't know. I'm very curious to see. I'm excited to watch him in spring training. I'm excited to watch him throughout the season. I'm excited to watch the White Sox throughout the season. I think this is going to be one of my favorite unbiased teams to watch this year. 2026 outlook. They're going to be pesky. They're going to be competitive. They're going to have days where they look like a playoff team, and they're going to have days where they look like a 60-win White Sox team from 2025. I think they're going to sit in that 65 to 70 win range. But even at that range, I think even the games that they lose, I think they're going to be more competitive. I think they're going to be more enjoyable to watch. I think that division is getting a little bit worse. So I think that's also going to help the competitiveness. If you tell me that the Guardians and the Royals really struggle and the White Sox can find their way to 74 wins, I'm not going to be surprised. But I would guess, if I had to guess today, I'd put my over-under at 68 wins. 67.5 is where I put the over-under for 2026. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be pesky, but I think ultimately the youth is just going to get outplayed by veterans around the league. But get the experience, get the on-field playing time, and get ready for 2027 because I think this team could explode. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we got the Washington Nationals, who was my Chicago White Sox of 2025. Didn't work out, but that was a team that I was really excited to watch last year. They still have some really exciting young players. I think that's another team that we're gonna have to watch out for pretty soon. But tune in for that one tomorrow and every Monday through Friday, all the way up to opening day, leading up to the awards prediction episode on opening day. And then it's baseball time. Super Bowl's over now. It's time for baseball to take that front seat. Go to W Energy. Link in the description. Promo code BATBOY. 10% off. We'll see you guys tomorrow.